Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Critical here. Haven't made a video in about a year or so, and I don't know. I've been getting emails about these comments that are being posted on my videos every so often. They're kind of funny. Some of them are kind of funny. Like one guy was pointing out how I say "like" a lot, and that's a habit that I gotta break. But anyway, so what I'm going to be making a video about today is, as you saw in the title, what I personally what my personal theory is about how the universe came about. Now, obviously, I am a first-year student in college studying chemistry. I also do independent studies just about basic mathematics, in the grand scheme of things, pretty basic, like, you know, some pre-calculus stuff, some trig, brushing up on algebra, then, you know, chemistry and all that stuff, and some quantum mechanics and all that stuff. And I don't know, I think this theory came about really when I started to learn about quarks and how temperature affects the way and like the kinetics of how particles are, what temperature really is, what heat is, and how it affects molecules. And the fact that when you heat something up, the entropy is basically going to increase. To give an example of that, if you have a block of ice and, you know, it's really cold, right? And then let's say you put some heat, you add to your system heat. Well, the ice is going to melt into water, and if you put more heat, it's going to turn into gas. Why? Because matter favors more entropy, basically. Favors more disorder. Ice is really ordered because it's kind of like a crystalline structure of H2O molecules together. That's not really how they naturally are. They're naturally liquid, but because it's so cold, the kinetics of those particles can't really fight. They don't have enough energy to favor the entropy, so they kind of just stay put. If you give them the energy, though, i.e. heat, then they turn to liquid, and then you give more heat, they turn to gas, and if you give them even more heat, then they can turn into plasma, and plasma is where we find ourselves in the beginning of this theory. And yeah, this is just my personal opinion. I want to share it because I think it's pretty cool. It's probably not how things are, but it gets my mind thinking. So, plasma, right? Plasma is a fourth stage of matter in which a section of atoms are heated to such an extent that not even the strong nuclear force holding the neutrons and protons in the nucleus and the electrons together to form an atom, they can't even stay together. The temperature is so high that they just kind of break apart, become this big soup of particles. Not necessarily quarks, elementary particles, but just protons and electrons. The key point to keep in mind here is that the temperature is so high they cannot combine. Okay, what if we raise the temperature even more? What if we raise the temperature so much that the quarks that make up the protons and neutrons couldn't combine to form protons and neutrons? And if there's no protons and neutrons, guess what? There's no matter, because the elementary particles that make them up, the quarks, the gluons, they have no mass. They're just pure energy as far as I'm aware. So let's say that we have this infinite expanse of this kind of soup plasma stuff where it is super heated to the point where the quarks can't combine. And in terms of the timeline of this, I don't even know if it's possible to deduce when it had started, where it came from. These are answers we probably will never have because it's most likely infinite, and the human mind can't comprehend infinity, because for us, things that exist always have a beginning and always have an end. Classic example is a human. We all start as babies. Well, actually, we all start as zygotes in our mother's womb, and that's our beginning. That's the beginning of a new human life. The end is when we die. Classic example. With this potential theory of this plasma quark superheated soup, there is no beginning or end. It just is. And it's kind of something we have to accept with this theory. Anyway, so we're in this basin of infinite expanse of plasma, of just these quarks swirling around each other, not combining. What happens if, from some kind of event, small section, even just a few quarks, lost just enough energy where they were able to combine together. And now we have our first protons and neutrons. And because this section has less heat, it will expand. So you have like a little dot of quarks that have cooled down just enough to expand. And because they're cool, they cool down the rest of everything. So it's kind of like, it's kind of like a spot in a pond, right? A little tiny, like little bubble. And then imagine if when that bubble appears, instantaneously, the borders of that bubble make the water molecules separate. So it goes like that. Not necessarily an explosion, but a big expansion. And from that expansion, in milliseconds, we have an infinite amount of matter. It's ridiculous. And yeah, now that can account for a lot of things that we are not aware of. For instance, big question, two big questions. Are there multiverses, multiple universes other than ours? 2, is the universe expanding? Is it infinite? Well, the ultimate question, let's tackle the second question first, right? So, is the universe infinite? Technically, yes. If we consider the universe as the all-encompassing of all energy, including the plasma, including the cold spot in that plasma that holds the matter, like protons and neutrons. If we consider that, yes, it is infinite. Is it expanding? The observable universe, if this theory has even any semblance of possibility to exist and to be how things are, yes, it is expanding. Like I said before, imagine the bubble keeps creating a bigger hole. The more water that the more that the edges of that bubble touch water, it kind of hydrolyzes the water. It tears the water apart. So it's infinitely expanding in an infinite pool of water, because when it touches other water molecules, it just makes it grow. And since there's an infinite massive water molecules, it just keeps growing in all directions. You know, up, down, whatever. So the universe would be expanding. Okay, now the first question, let's go back to the first question. Are there multiverses? Well, I think that's pretty easy. Because what if, okay, so we're assuming that in this infinite pool of plasma, there was one section that cooled down just enough to create the first matter. But who's to say that some trillions of light years away, there's another section that also did that? And what about another section? And all, like, what if there were a bunch of little dots in this infinite sea of plasma? You know what I mean? Maybe our universe that had bloomed from that had cooled just enough, wasn't even the first one. There's no telling what was the first one. But it can be assumed that there would be other multi-universes, because just by the probability of how massive the expanse is, an infinite expanse, obviously there's going to be more of the one part. So this would conclude that there are also multiverses. I want to state again that this is just a theory based on just my thought processes. There's obviously a lot of things that are kind of like vague about this theory, weird. Like, what was the event that cooled that section, right? If it had been like that for the majority of its existence, which would be forever until that point, then what in the fuck could have cooled it down? If it, you know what I mean, what could have dispersed the heat and diluted it just enough for the quarks to combine to make protons, and then the protons and neutrons and electrons to form atoms? I don't know. I don't know, but it's really cool. Even if it isn't how it is, which again, it probably isn't how things are. I think this liquid soup universe theory of how things came to be, it's pretty cool. And also we could see how if we take like 6 quarks, right? No, actually we take 3 quarks, take 1 electron, right? That makes hydrogen, right? We can imagine that, how it would be explosive like if from this little spot, this singularity, because it's affecting everything around it at the same time, and everything that's being affected by it is affecting the other things, and it's a cycle, you know what I mean? It's exponential growth. So the more cooling there is, the more things can be cooled at that same time, creating an unimaginable expansion, which could be interpreted as a Big Bang, you know? So that's basically the end of this video. I wanted to share my thoughts, see what you guys think. If you agree with this theory, let me know. If you disagree with this theory, let me know, and let me know why. Let me know why you agree. Let me know why you disagree. I'm interested in seeing both parts, especially though from the points of view of people who have much more knowledge than this about me and are much more qualified to make statements like that. But anyway, it was fun making this video, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.